my friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Zita, and on my channel I do DIYs and makeovers on a budget. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at OakWell Home. So let's get started on today's DIYs and see what I've created. So first I'm starting out with this cutlery box here that I thrifted, and you can find these at the thrift store quite often. So I cleaned it up first, gave it a good wipe down, and then I'm going to paint it up. And I thought about taking the inside out, and I have done that before because I have upcycled these before and have taken the whole inside out. Is quite the job. So this one I thought I'm going to leave it in and try painting that fabric. I haven't done that before, so I thought I'm going to try that. And I was going to take out that portion that holds the cutlery, but it was in there pretty solid, so I thought if I knock that out, it's probably going to mess up the rest of it. So what I thought I'd do is cut some strips of wood that I had on hand, some scrap wood that I actually got from the wood pile at my local hardware store. I thought I'd cut that down, and I thought I'm going to paint those up the same color that I'm going to paint the inside, and just cover that up and make it look nice. So I measured out my scrap wood pieces and made them fit in there. And then I gave them good sanding to make them all smooth with my sander there. And once I have them all sanded down, then I'm going to paint them up, and I'm going to paint them the same color that I'm going to paint the inside of that box. And I'm using a fusion paint in I believe this color is Midnight Blue. It's a beautiful navy color. And I'm going to paint the red fabric this same color. And I hadn't painted fabric like that before, so I thought I'd give it a try. So these sticks here, I'm using this little tiny script stamp that I picked up on Amazon, and I'll put that in my description box in case you guys want to order one for yourself. And I'm using a white ink on it, and that's just going to dress up these little you know, scrap pieces of wood that I'm going to put in there just to make it look a little nicer and not, you know, just some scrap wood. So I painted the inside with this same fusion color paint, and the fabric did soak up quite a bit of this paint, so I used quite a bit, but it worked out fine. So I thought I'd try it, and then if it didn't work out, then I was going to rip the whole thing out. But it worked out. Like I said, I had to use quite a bit of paint to get good coverage on this, like, you know, so none of that red color would show through. But yeah, like I said, it all worked out. And once I had the inside painted, I started painting the outside. And I'm painting this with this blue color that I made up. It's a homemade chalk paint that I made from some acrylic paint that I had on hand. I just mixed a bunch of different blue colors and some white. And if you haven't made homemade chalk paint before, I'll put that in my description box as well. I do have a video. And if you've seen some of my recent videos, you will see like a beautiful green chalk paint that I made as well. And I show you how I made that color in one of my videos. So you'll have to go back and look at some of those. So once my homemade chalk paint was dry, and I painted the whole box in this color, the whole outside box, I applied my Mod Podge on top of the box. But before I applied my Mod Podge, I gave it a light sanding to make sure it was nice and smooth, and then wiped away that dust. And then I applied my Mod Podge. So I'm going to try the iron-on method. So I let that Mod Podge dry overnight, and then the next day I'm going to iron on my napkin. So I'm using this beautiful napkin here with some blue in it. And now a lot of people will paint white underneath the napkin, but I just wanted some of that blue to show through. The napkin had some blue in it already, and so I just kept it blue underneath, and that way, you know, the blue will come through in the napkin as well. And so I laid my napkin down, and then I put a parchment paper on top of that. And now I'm going to use my iron, and there's no water in the iron. It's not on a steam setting. It's just a dry iron with no water in it. I think it's on the cotton setting. And then I just went over the whole napkin with my iron and smoothed that all out. And what the heat in the iron is doing is activating that Mod Podge again, so the napkin is going to stick to your piece. So this is a great method for pieces like this that are, you know, have a nice flat surface, and this way your napkin is going to turn out so smooth on top, and it does turn out so smooth. I just love this method. So right here I'm using a Polyvine varnish, and it's a lot thinner than Mod Podge, so I kind of like this for putting on top, and I'm using a really soft brush here to apply it. And yeah, like I said, it's a lot more watery than the Mod Podge, so I find this is really nice for applying on top to prevent the wrinkles from coming through again. And I'm using a very light touch to apply this Polyvine. And this particular Polyvine that I'm using is in what's called the dead flat, so there's no sheen to it, which I didn't want that sheen coming through on the napkin, because Mod Podge, I find sometimes it leaves like a slight sheen to it, so the Polyvine doesn't do that. So I let that Polyvine dry overnight. You can, you know, it probably would dry in a few hours too, but I just left it until the next day, and then I smoothed it out. Got all that excess napkin off with a fine sanding block. So I just went around all the edges. So now I am going to glue in these painted scrap wood pieces that I painted earlier and stamped with my script stamp. So I'm just using some hot glue. I thought about nailing them in that piece, but I didn't. I just used hot glue and it worked fine. Just pressed on it, and it has stayed in there nicely. And then I'm going to apply that top piece on there, and as you can see, it ties in nicely with the rest of the painted fabric, so I didn't have to remove that piece. And you can just kind of lay your jewelry over there, or it just can be like made into to make it look like, you know, there's two separate compartments. So now I thought this box needed a little more, so I'm taking my IOD script stamp, and this script stamp is, you know, the script print on it is a lot larger than that little script stamp I used earlier on those scrap wood pieces. And I'm using a gold ink here, and that ink I think I got from the dollar store during Christmas, the Dollarama, which is here in Canada. I don't think you guys have Dollarama in the States. And for all you viewers watching from other countries, I'm not sure what kind of dollar stores you guys have, or if you do have them. And if you are watching from another country, please let me know if your country has like dollar stores like they do here in Canada and the US. So I'm putting that script stamp on the back, the sides, and the front, and I'm just kind of pressing in some empty spots. Now, A little bit of the stamp in one area or a couple areas did kind of slide a little bit, so it you know, it's not perfect, but it still looks beautiful. It's, you know, it's a handmade piece, so it's not going to be perfect every time, but you know, sometimes those imperfections make it look that, give it that much more character. And the gold ink looks really nice on there. So now I'm going to let that ink dry overnight. Friends, I can't say this enough. Let your ink dry, because if you put wax or a top coat, whatever top coat you're using, on top of your ink and it's not dry, it will smear. And I'm telling you this because I know from experience from doing that. I have, if you've been watching my videos, you will have seen me do a project where I smeared the ink, and I showed it to you because I wanted you to see that if you don't let it dry, it will smear. And then I'm taking that gold ink that I used on the stamp and used on the side of the box. I'm just kind of outlining the napkin on top to just tie it in with the rest of the gold script stamp that I put on there. And once I do that and get that done, I'm also going to take some gold acrylic paint that I had on hand, and I'm going to outline the front and sides where there's a little crease there, as you can see, and just put some gold paint in there. That's going to give it that little extra. And this box, I find, with this color and the gold ink and that napkin, that beautiful design on that napkin, it's making the box look very elegant, I think. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you would have put the gold in the little creases. Now I'm just putting some of that gold acrylic paint on my fingers and just going along some of the outline there, and also taking it and painting the knob on the front with the same gold paint. And this gold acrylic paint like dries almost instantly. I'm not sure what makes the gold so different from all of the other colors of acrylic paint, but this one dries almost instantly. And I'm also taking that same gold and kind of going along the edges on the top as well. And like I said, once all that's dry, I waited till the next day. I gave it a nice coat of clear wax, and that was it. So this is what it looked like before, and here is the finished product. Let me know, friends, what you think of this beauty. I'm showing you here with some jewelry. I also tried some paper products in there. You can put cards in there. Let me know what you would put inside of this box. And let me know if you've seen a bunch of these at your thrift store. For my next DIY, I'm working on a couple of signs here, or pictures that I thrifted at the Habitat for Humanity last year. I bought a whole bunch of these. There were pink ones, green ones, I think blue ones. They all had cactus pictures on them, and they were only $2 a piece. So I picked a bunch of these up. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you will have seen me create other pieces of art on these. The other ones that I've used in the past, so I've painted the whole frame, but this one I'm leaving the sides green because I'm going to be decoupaging some beautiful decoupage paper on these. So I'm just covering up that picture with a darker paint, and this is a fusion paint. I can't remember the color off the top of my head right now, but this paint, the coverage is unbelievable. It's such an amazing paint. Like, you barely have anything on your brush, and the paint goes a long way, and the coverage is amazing. Like, I just put one coat of paint on top of this to cover up that picture, and you could not see anything behind it. The paint is an amazing paint. So if you haven't not tried this paint, I would suggest giving it a try and see what you think. And it has a nice smooth finish as well. So once I had that picture covered up, now I'm using a white paint here that I found at the in the Oopsie aisle at my local Home Depot. And I put 2 coats of paint on these, 2 coats of white paint, and the second coat I put my homemade white chalk paint on top. And if I would have had like a green paint, like the same color as the frame, I probably would have used that. Now, if you, like I said, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you will have seen me create some a beautiful green chalk paint that I used on some projects. That was an absolute gorgeous green. I probably, if I had some of that left, I probably would have used it on this, but I didn't. And if I had my time back, I probably wouldn't have painted all the way to the edges. I probably would have left some of the green there, because you'll see after, once I start decoupaging, you will see some of that white underneath. So once the paint was dry, I gave it a light sanding with this a sanding sponge there, and then I wiped that down with a damp cloth. So now I'm going to apply my Mod Podge, and I'm going to let this dry overnight, and I'm going to decoupage using the iron-on method, which is absolutely awesome, especially when you got a flat surface like this. It's a great decoupage method to try, because your decoupage paper is going to have like no wrinkles in it. Like, it's so smooth. And once I get the decoupage paper on there, I do put a layer of polyvine wood varnish on top, because it's very thin. It's much thinner than the Mod Podge, and I really like it for a top coat, and I use a really soft brush to apply it so that I don't get any wrinkles. So these frames had some little hooks on the back, but I don't think it's necessary for a deep set frame like this. So now I'm putting my decoupage paper on, this beautiful decoupage paper with the green and this yellow bird on there. So now for your iron, friends, you're going to want to use a dry iron. Don't put any water in your iron. Don't use steam. You want your iron to be really hot, but no water in there. Okay, so you just want a dry iron. So I'm just pressing down, and sometimes I'll hold it in place for a little while, and then I'll move it along, and this gets really hot, so don't touch that paper because it is extremely hot. And so that's what it looks like. So see how smooth that is? No wrinkles. So this is an awesome method I'd love to try. And I have tried this in the past on some flat surfaces like this, and it turns out so amazing. So this is polyvine wood varnish, and like I said, it's much thinner than the Mod Podge. So I use a really soft brush to apply it. This is a makeup brush I think I have. But you can use any really soft brush, and I go very lightly when I'm applying the top coat of the Polyvine wood varnish. And if you're looking for some of this varnish or some decoupage paper or napkins, I'll leave a 10% off coupon code for Ninny's napkins in my description box. And you may find some decoupage papers there, and they do sell this Polyvine. But this decoupage paper here I got from, what is that? Zazzle, I think it is. But I thought it was going to come with more of a larger image on it. But when you order certain sizes, I think they kind of shorten the image. Anyway, but look how smooth that turns out. So now it's dry the next day, and look how smooth. It's so smooth. So now I'm just taking a fine sanding block, and I'm getting that excess decoupage paper off there, and go down with your sanding block so you know you don't get any ripping on your paper or that shredded kind of look. Now, as I said earlier, because this decoupage paper didn't fit, like it fit the width, but you could see a little bit of that white paint showing through. So I did not want that, so I fixed that by applying a gold paint around the whole edges, whole frame of the sign. And I had 2 gold acrylic paints that I tested out to see what color I wanted to use. So I applied it with my finger, and then I also show you how I applied it with a sponge brush, but I prefer to do it with my finger. I think it gives you more control. But these turned out absolutely gorgeous with that gold on there, and the gold and the green look so beautiful together. And I love that yellow bird and the leaves in there. Let me know in the comments what you think of this beautiful decoupage paper, and what you think of this decoupage iron-on method, and if you've ever tried it. And let me know if you like that gold that I put on there. I think they look very high-end with the gold on there. I absolutely love these. So this is what they looked like before, and here is what they look like now. Absolutely gorgeous. I love them. So friends, I hope these 2 DIYs gave you some inspiration to create something. For this next DIY, I found these little canvases at the Dollar Tree, and first I'm giving them a coat of paint with my homemade chalk paint. And if you haven't tried homemade chalk paint before, I do have a video for a recipe that you can try, and it's a lot less expensive, and if you need some chalk paint on the spot, it's easy to mix up. So I'm taking a little dental pick here that I have to take apart this 3-ply napkin, and I am checking to see that I got all the plies off, because sometimes if you pick up napkins at the dollar store, they are only 2-ply, and I think I got these from Ninny Napkins, and they're usually 3-ply, so I want to make sure I get all the plies of napkins off. And if you want to order some napkins from Ninny Napkins, I do have a 10% off coupon code, which you'll find in my description box. So I'm using some water and a small paintbrush here, a little fine tip paintbrush, and I'm lining up on my canvas which of the butterflies I want to be on the canvas. I'm just holding it down, and then I'm just going to go around the frame with my wet paintbrush, and that's going to allow me to take off that excess napkin really easily, and it's going to give me a more natural appearance around the corners instead of a straight edge. So I'm just going to go all the way around here, and for that first canvas I'm going to go with that beautiful navy butterfly. And if you haven't tried knitting napkins before, there are so many beautiful napkins on that website. So go check it out and use my coupon code. And I may do a giveaway for a bunch of napkins coming up in future videos. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in receiving some free napkins for a giveaway. So here I'm working from the center out with my Mod Podge, and then go to the other side of the napkin, and I'm smoothing it out with my piece of soft plastic here. And I think right here I'm just using a one of those soft plastic bags from the grocery store that you put your veggies in. And that's a really nice soft plastic. You can use saran wrap as well, or any plastic bag, but I like to use the plastic that's really soft so it doesn't, you know, rip your napkins. So the softer the plastic, the better it is. So once I have that one on, I'm going to start with my other one and do the same thing, go around the canvas with my water and fine paintbrush here and take off the excess napkin. And then I have two little beautiful spring canvas prints, and I did give these to my little niece for Christmas, and she absolutely loved them. I'll have to get her to take a picture for me of them on her wall, maybe in her bedroom. I would say she has them. And on this one I put an orange and green butterfly. So these are nice little quick DIYs and quick art prints that you can make. And like I said, Knitting Napkins has so many beautiful napkins that you can use and make some really inexpensive art for yourself. So let me know what you think of these ones once you see the finished product. And once I have the Mod Podge on the bottom, I just let these dry overnight and then apply my top coat of Mod Podge the next day. If I'm in a really hurry, I sometimes apply the Mod Podge right away, but most of the times I like to let it dry because I find there's less room for it to rip then. So friends, I'll let you finish watching the rest of this DIY. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these two DIYs today. For my next DIY, I have these set of tiles here that I picked up from the Habitat for Humanity. And I already gave them a coat of white chalk paint, homemade chalk paint. So I am going to use the decoupage iron-on method with these coasters. So what I'm doing first is giving them each a coat of Mod Podge, and I'm going to let that Mod Podge dry overnight. And I gave them one coat. And then once the Mod Podge was dry the next day, I'm taking these beautiful bird napkins. They are gorgeous. And I picked these up from Ninny Napkins, friends. So if you want to get some of these napkins or look at some of the other napkins that Ninny's Napkins has, they have so many beautiful ones. I'll leave a 10% off coupon code in my description box. Continuing on, you want to get all the layers off your napkin, and take it from me. If you've been watching me for a while, you've heard me say this before, get all your layers off, because if you don't, it's gonna bubble up, and I know from experience. So I'm just cutting the napkin into fours here, and as you can see, I found another layer of napkin on there. So this has, they usually are 2-ply or 3-ply. So this one was a 3-ply, and sometimes you have to cut them to, you know, see that extra layer on them. So just make sure you get all the layers off. So this is the next day, and I'm placed my napkin down. Now I'm using some parchment paper, and I'm using my hot iron here. It's on the cotton setting, and there is no water in this. It's just dry heat, so it's not steam. So make sure you don't have any water in your iron. So I'm just pressing down on that iron, and I think I went over it for like about a minute, and I went on along the sides as well. But see this method, how beautiful it is, how smooth your napkin comes out. So I really love this method, decoupage method, for a flat surface, because you get less wrinkles on your project. So now what I'm going to do, once I have all those napkins ironed on my tiles and they're all nice and smooth, I'm using this Polyvine varnish, and this is in the dead flat, so it's not going to be any sheen to it. And I did apply about 5 or 6 coats of this. So I applied my first coat, let it dry, and then applied my second, third, and so on. So I think I applied 5 or 6 coats, and what that's going to do, it's going to make them more durable and more like heat resistance to, like, you know, your hot coffee and hot tea and stuff like that. So if you'd like to try this Polyvine as well, Ninny's Napkins sells this product as well, and that is where I purchase it from. So go into my description box and get that 10% off coupon code for yourself. So I'm applying that Polyvine along all of the napkin, like along the sides as well. So once I had all my 5 or 6 coats on there and that was dry, I sanded off that excess napkin to make sure it had nice smooth edges. And then once I had that done, I thought they need a little bit more finishing along the edges, and I wanted them to look a little more vintage. So I took some of my antiquing wax and I put it on the sides there. If you don't want to do this portion, you don't have to. If you like the more cleaner look, you can keep it that way without the antiquing wax. But I put it along all the edges and kind of along like the corners and stuff like that, just to give it kind of like that worn vintage kind of vibe. So let me know, friends, what you think of these beauties once I finish this last step here, which is some grip sheet there that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. So I cut a square out and like measured it with my coaster, and then I'm going to use that first piece I cut out to cut out the rest of the pieces, just so they're all the same size. Then I'm going to take my hot glue gun and glue those pieces along each of the edges. Now you could use the dollar store stickers too, but you might need to place some hot glue on them, because I don't think they'll stick very well to these tiles. And you could also glue on cork on the back as well. That would look really nice as well. And I think you can pick up cork squares at the Dollar Tree. So let me know, friends, once you see the final product, what you think of these beauties and what you think of these beautiful bird napkins. So this is what they looked like before, and here they are now. Gorgeous. For my next DIY here, I have this shell that I've had in my stash for a long time. It's from my hometown visit that I made years ago, and I found this shell on the beach. So I'm going to decoupage it and make it into like a little trinket dish. So I'm going to use this gold and white tissue paper here, and I keep all my napkins and tissue in binders, and that way it's easier to look through and easier to find. So this was actually I think someone gave me a gift, and this beautiful tissue paper was in there, so I had it in my stash for a while, so it was quite wrinkly. So I took my iron and just ironed it out, just so it's going to be less wrinkly on my project. I just put some parchment paper on top of it and then use my iron on the cotton setting with a dry heat. No water in it, so no steam. So what I did first is gave this shell a coat of white chalk paint, or a couple coats, just to cover up the brown that was in the shell. And this is homemade chalk paint, again made by me, so if you'd like to try some, go in my description box for the video on that. And then I'm just drying it up really quick here with my hot heat gun here. My hot heat gun, of course it's going to be hot if it's a heat gun. I meant to say I'm going to dry it faster with my heat gun. So now I'm applying some decoupage. Oh gosh, I can't speak today, guys. I'm applying some Mod Podge. I'm sure you saw the Mod Podge there. So I'm applying some Mod Podge, or whatever decoupage medium you use. I'm applying that, and then I'm going to put my tissue paper down, and then I'm going to smooth it out there with a I have this disposable shower cap that I picked up at one of the dollar stores, and the plastic on this is really soft, so I like using that because I find it's less room to rip your paper or your napkin. Then I'm just cutting off the excess here, and whatever else is left on there, I'm going to take my sanding block and my sanding paper there and get the rest of that excess napkin off there and just smooth out the edges. And I did have this just like this first, like without an edging around it. You'll see me put a gold edging around it, but I'm going to show you what it looks like without and with the gold edging. So what I also decided to do is to stamp something on here. So I'm stamping "You Are Beautiful." And these are little clickable stamps. They're awesome. So I'll put that in my description box if you'd like to order some of these on Amazon. They're awesome crafting stamps. But what happened here, because I put them all together like words, but because of the dip in this little shell, that didn't work out. So I had to apply the stamps individually to get them where I wanted to get them, because of, at the top it was kind of that little impression in the shell there, like a hole, so the stamp wouldn't go down there, even though I thought they would be flexible enough to do that, but they weren't. So now I'm applying a gold acrylic paint along the edges to finish this piece up. But I'm going to show you pictures with and without, and you let me know in the comments if you prefer the gold edging or if you would have left it just with the decoupage paper and the stamping on there. So this is it today, guys. I hope you enjoyed all of these projects. I really appreciate you all being here and spending some of your time with me. And I hope you enjoyed these projects and they gave you some inspiration. So don't forget to talk nice to yourself and others today, and I'm sending you love and blessings, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. I'm going to be making over this Body Shop box that I received a gift in for Christmas. It's a really sturdy box. And first I'm going to give it a good painting to cover up those logos on the top and the bottom. But the sides, I wanted to keep that beautiful peach color. So I put a few coats of paint on, and this is a homemade chalk paint. So if you haven't made homemade chalk paint before, I'll leave that in my description box and you'll be able to watch a video on how to create some for yourself. So again, I painted the top and the bottom, and I gave this a dark coat on the bottom and then a white coat just to cover up those logos. So I have a couple of tissue papers here from the Dollar Tree. So if you don't have any decoupage paper on hand, you can head to your dollar store and find some gift tissue paper or some napkins. And I'm sanding down the paint here with a fine sanding sponge and then giving it a wipe before I start my decoupage process. So guys, if you have some old boxes like this, you can certainly upcycle them and make them into a beautiful gift box, especially sturdy boxes like this. You could even try this with a shoe box. So this tissue paper is a little thinner than some decoupage papers. So you're going to want to be a little careful with this, and I work from the center out. And the reason why you paint your underneath white is so that you get the brightness of the paper. If you don't want that brightness, you can paint it a darker color if you want. But I wanted that paper to look bright, so I painted it white. And I work from the center out by applying my Mod Podge halfway and then laying it down with a soft plastic. And I use a disposable shower cap from the Dollar Tree because it's a really soft plastic and less potential for the tissue paper to rip. And when you're smoothing it out, like I said, go carefully because you don't want to rip the paper. Now I could have easily ripped it right there by kind of pulling it up again, because sometimes once it sticks to that Mod Podge, it's down there, and if you try to pick it up, it may rip. And I think I did rip it in a little spot there you see me dabbing, but I just dabbed it in place and it turned out fine. And I'm going to be putting some print on top of this paper, so if there's some wrinkles, that's okay. It's still going to look beautiful. So then I start working from the center to the other half and applying the rest of my tissue paper down. What do you guys think of this tissue paper? Do you like this tie-dye look tissue paper, or do you think I should have used that floral one? Now I did leave the side of this box peach because I really did like that peach color, and I thought the peachy orange in this tie-dye looking tissue paper matched the box really nicely. So once that is dry, I use a fine sanding block and sand off the remainder of the tissue. And you can keep this tissue paper, guys, if you have like a little small project that you want to use it for, to cover up something small. So I did not throw this out. I kept it, but you know, if you want to throw it out, you can go ahead, but I don't want to waste all this paper. I can use it on a little project. So I go around the whole piece and sand off that paper and then just kind of clean up the edges. What do you think, guys? So now I'm not finished with this. I'm going to apply a top coat of Mod Podge. Now I let my Mod Podge dry most of the time if I have time to let it dry. If not, you can do this after you've applied your undercoat of Mod Podge, and then you can apply your top coat, but I find there's less room for it to rip if you let the Mod Podge dry and then apply your top coat of Mod Podge. So I'm just giving the bottom coat here some coats of paint that kind of match the box. Now, you don't really have to, you know, do the bottom if you're just giving this to a niece or keeping it for yourself, but I wanted to cover up that whole logo. Even if you couldn't see it, I knew it was covered up in my own head. So I painted it peach color. I think I gave it a few coats. And now I'm going to use some IOD stamps, and these are awesome stamps. I forget the name of them off the top of my head, but they're 4 different textured prints here on this piece. And I just cut them into 4s. And if they're new, you're going to want to give them light sanding first, so your ink or your paint or whatever you're using has some tooth to hang on to on your stamps. So you can then just put it on your piece. So I'm just cutting out the piece that I want here. I actually do cut all 4 of them out. And then I'm applying a gold ink, and this is kind of going to give the piece like a crackle effect now. These stamps I've used so many times, so IOD stamps are a little pricey, but once you have them, they're going to last you a lifetime because they're very well made. Isn't that beautiful, guys? And I'm using this roller here that I picked up from Amazon. Now you can just use your hands too, but you'll see me do a little bit later here. I find just using my hands was fine too, because I just press it in place. The roller I find was sliding the stamp around a little bit, so I did kind of just press it down with my hands. And I'm just trying out some of these different textures on here. This one kind of has like a shiplap kind of print on it. And I'm just kind of going around the box in different areas and just giving it some texture, and it turns out beautiful. Let me know in the comments if you guys have used any of these stamps. Isn't that beautiful? So it kind of looks like crackle. Now I have these other IOD stamps, these butterfly stamps, and I'm using a purple ink kind of to match the purple on the tissue paper here. And I'm using some thin mount to press that down. Now I did use my roller again, and you'll see me later just press it down with my hands. And now I'm just applying a little dragonfly, and I'm using a navy ink on that one. Aren't these stamps beautiful? Isn't that beautiful, guys? So now I thought I'm going to also put her name on it. So these stamps that I have here, they're called letterpress, and I get a lot of use out of these stamps. So if you're gonna buy some of these stamps, I would suggest this one for sure, because you're gonna get a lot of use out of this one for a lot of different projects. So this is where you'll see it's gonna go sideways. So that ink was not dry, and this is what happened. So before you apply a top coat to your piece, maybe give it a clear coat of Rust-Oleum spray, or wait till the next day and kind of test it in a little area to see if it's dry, because I find some inks dry faster than others. So yeah, that wasn't dry, so I wiped it all away and put her name on there again, and then I wait till that was dry and made sure it was completely dry before I applied a top coat. So this is what it looked like before, and look at this beautiful piece now that I made for my niece, and I put some Christmas gifts in there for her, and I thought she can put this in her room after it has her name on it. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of this upcycle. For this next DIY, I have this cupboard door or drawer piece from the Habitat for Humanity, and as you can see, it has some slats cut out there on the side. So I'm gonna fix that up by using some Durham's water putty, and I'm gonna have to put some tape and cardboard in place on the side there, and I'm not gonna cover up those big circles in the back because you can probably hang it off the wall with that. Now I do put a hanger on it as well, but this was a gift for my sister. I'm gonna put some bird transfers on it. But first, yeah, I'm just applying the tape to the side here and then some cardboard inside. I'm just kind of making a little mold here to put my Durham water putty in. So, you know, I have a finished side to paint up. So the instructions are on the container there on how to mix this up. I can't recall now the ratio, but the directions are on the container. So once that's mixed up, I'm gonna pour that into the little mold that I made here, and then I'm gonna let that dry. And once that's dry, I'm going to take that tape off and the mold inside, the cardboard mold inside, and sand that up, and then I have a side to be able to paint up. And so there's the side that's ready for sanding, and then this had a big slit in the top here too. So for that, because it was so thin, I thought I'd use a wood filler here on the top, and I let that dry and then was able to sand both sides and then get it ready for painting. So if you see a piece like this at the Habitat or at the thrift store, don't think that it's useless and that you can't use it. You can just do something like this and then you have a piece ready to use. So, you know, you may be able to find a less expensive price on something like this at the Habitat or at the thrift store, because you know they think it's garbage, but it's really not. You can fix it up like this just by covering it up with some Durham's water putty or some wood filler. So now I'm using a blue paint here as my first coat because I want to distress this piece, and when I distress it, I want some of that blue to show through, and because it's going to match the bird transfer that I put on this. So I put a couple of coats of that on, and then I'm putting a polyacrylic on top of that because when I distress it back, I don't want that paint to come off. So that polyacrylic is going to help that paint to stay there once you distress it. So now I'm putting a few coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I had this paint before I made my own chalk paint. So once that's dry, I am taking a wet cloth and I am wet distressing it back to the blue. So if you didn't apply that polyacrylic, you may be taking off some of your blue paint as well, and then it would show the white. So that's why you need to put the polyacrylic, or you could put a Rust-Oleum clear coat on top as well. Just something to seal in that bottom color. So I'm just distressing that back and it turns out so nice. What do you think of that color, guys? Now you'll see once I put the bird transfer on there how that looks really nice. So there's the bird transfer from the IOD transfer book, and there's lots of different transfers in here that you can use for so many projects, and these are so awesome to work with. You just stick it in place, and then use your tool to burnish it down, and this makes for a quick piece. Let me know in the comments if you have tried these transfers, whether IOD or some other brand. Now, I do have decoupage paper like this as well, and if you've watched some of my previous videos, you will have seen me use a decoupage paper with these exact birds on a canvas piece from the dollar store. So if you haven't seen that, go back in my videos, or I'll put it in the description box, and you can see me use a decoupage paper like this. And I've also used another set of transfers like this. They had two different styles of birds on wire in this package, and I did put it on another cupboard door, longer piece, longer cupboard door, or a drawer front, whatever it is. And it turned out really nice too, and I gave that gift to my mom. So my sister saw my mom's piece and she wanted one made for her, so I made this one for her and just put the blue background on hers. So once it's burnished down, you can use that plastic to burnish it down a little bit more. And then I did put a top coat on this, but I don't know if I got the footage of that. So I put a wax on top of this, guys. You can put a polyacrylic as well. So let me know in the comments what you think of this beautiful piece. For this next DIY, I picked up these plain white tiles from the Habitat. Now, as you can see, they're not completely flat. They kind of have like this little ripple effect in them. These would be beautiful on a kitchen backsplash or a bathroom backsplash. So first, I'm going to apply some Mod Podge because I'm not going to paint them since they're already white. I thought I'd try doing these coasters without painting them with the chalk paint and just putting the Mod Podge on and letting that dry. Now I'm picking out my napkins here, and I keep all my napkins and tissue paper in this binder here. So I picked out these beautiful goat napkins, which I got from Ninny Napkins. So if you're looking for some awesome napkins, I'll leave a 10% off coupon code in my description box if you want to head over to Ninny Napkins and pick out some beautiful napkins. They have so many beautiful napkins. It'll make your head spin. But my sister really likes goats, so I made these for her for Christmas. So you want to cut your napkins in four now and take all the layers off your napkins, and make sure you have all the layers, guys, because sometimes they have 2 layers and sometimes there's 3. So make sure you get all those layers off or your project's going to go sideways. So I'm doing the iron-on method with these. I thought I'd try it. I haven't tried this on a plain coaster like this before. So actually, yes, I did do some for Christmas. If you haven't seen that, go back and see it. I did some beautiful cardinal with a green background. It's beautiful. So I have my iron on the cotton setting here, and there's no water in it, so you don't put water in it because you don't want the steam. So what this is doing, the heat is activating that Mod Podge, and I'm just kind of getting the sides and the top here, and I'm just pressing it down and getting it in place. And if you hear a dog in the background, that's my dog. He's jumping around. He likes to do that when I'm editing. So anyway, so once I got that on there, and it turned out so smooth, it's turned out beautiful. So once that was done, I take all that excess napkin off there with a fine sanding block, and you'll see here how smooth that is. Look how smooth that iron process turned out. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out because, like I said, that tile had a slight ripple to it. So what I'm doing now to make these coasters heat proof is applying this Polyvine heavy duty varnish, and this is called Dead Flat. So there's no sheen to this at all, guys. So it looks like you don't even have a top coat on there, but there is. I put 4 coats of that on there because I wanted to make sure that it was resistant to heat and you know, staining and stuff like that. So what I'm doing here is putting an antiquing wax on the side, just so the coasters look more finished and I don't have that raw edge exposed. Now you can put like napkin on the sides as well if you want, but that would be a little harder. It was a little harder with this process that I was doing with the iron-on method. So I picked up this grip mat here from the Dollar Tree, and I cut it out into squares, and I'm just going to hot glue that in place on the bottom, and then these coasters are done. Let me know in the comments what you think of these beautiful goat coasters. Would you use something like this? And I hope all of these projects gave you some inspiration today. And don't forget to give me a like and a comment and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so YouTube will notify when I post new videos, and that will help my channel grow. So I'll see you in the next video. Have an awesome day. Bye.